Okay, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to set up my videos for the event, and I think what I'm going to do is show the 3 interviews. It might be a little bit long, but I'll put an index down for people who want to just watch certain parts. So let me set this up a little bit. At the event, near the end of the event, a fellow was basically got into a shouting match. Not really a shouting match. What would you call something a little less than that? with the Channel 5 fella there, and I'll annotate his name because he gave it to me later. But they had words, real words. I mean, at one point I thought we were going to see a knockdown, drag-out fight, but it turns out after about 30 minutes they calmed down, and the Channel 5 fella, the reporter, decided that he was going to go ahead and do some interviews. And because he basically called the guy out, he was like, "Okay, well, let's give you your time right now, right here." And it was funny because the guy backed down just a little bit once he realized he was going to be on camera. But that's the Boisterous guy. We'll call him Boisterous guy. And so anyway, they started doing. He interviewed 3 people. One was a nice-looking blonde-headed young lady, who did a really good job. I hope you can hear what she said. There was a lot of wind and background noise, but then Boisterous guy went second, and he did okay. I mean, you know, he was a little out there, but he did a good job. And then 10 Outdoors 9 was number 3. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and show all 3 of these interviews now.
Media? Do you think they're reporting the truth?
We are local media.
Yeah, we're not CBS. You know, we can't control what by the bigger networks. Am I not right? Channel 5, CBS is still in Los Angeles. It's still
We
in
are
New
not
York.
owned by CBS.
It starts locally.
We're all about journal communication.
I typed this up. That's fine.
Look, we would love to do a story. Then all they doing is, I'd love to get your point of view on camera. If you guys can do this with us, it's great. But let's do it nice.
Right. I'm cool with that.
No need.
Look, I don't want violence. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm pissed off.
I would love to get your point of view on camera. Big seriously. You understand why he's threatening?
I do. I do.
And the best vehicle is to talk on camera. Seriously, the best way for you to get your point across is to say it and let us put it on. Okay, you want to do that? Let's
Today?
Right now.
I'm not freezing. No,
No, right now. Let's do it.
But you're. Now this is
You do not watch our air. You do not watch the local air. We do all.
I watch it every night. I TiVo 2 channels in my bedroom.
Do you
and 2
know the
channels in my
difference
bonus.
between a network story and a network story?
Yes, a network story is something that comes like is covering the nation, or something happened in Los Angeles, and we're getting the info here.
Right.
Okay, just like this Democrat that went out and shot a police officer, who was also a liberal. That's just the funny thing about it. Went out and shot 2 cops and killed 3 other people.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
New York.
No.
I'm just wondering.
We don't bounce off anybody, man.
I think the local media is our best chance.
You know what?
To get the message
You're
out.
exactly right. And here's the deal.
local media is the best.
And here's
but when
the
it
deal.
gets to
Our
anything
local
desk, that's
stories,
where I'm a little worried about.
You know, New York will call every day. Hey, what do you guys have working on? Well, we got a gun rights rally going on. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, let's send it up this way. They may take a soundbite out of it, you know, use it for their own purposes. But our stories are pretty much
Today
what
they'll
we
get
do.
stuff
See,
from
the
New
national-
England because of the snow. That'll be more fascinating to the network.
The national
Yeah,
media.
anything these guys are saying is directed at your station particularly?
No.
Or either of you as individuals?
Yeah, it kind of was, but that's okay.
No,
I understand
it's
your
not.
frustration.
It's not.
Here's the deal, though. I write it. I pick out the soundbite that you're going to say, you're going to say, and you're going to, and he edits it. And I don't even usually go through any approval process or anything. I've been doing this for 30 freaking years.
I noticed you right when
I
you walked
served
up.
my country for 15 years. Okay, to come home to this crap.
It's just,
I don't think the people doing this ever served doesn't understand.
it's just frustrating when of all the well-spoken and intelligent people that are here,
Hey,
the
man,
only person that makes
can
it
I
on
make a
air
suggestion?
is the one guy head to toe in like camo overalls. He's just like a redneck extremist, and that's very frustrating to the rest of us. And I think that's where what he's saying is coming from. It doesn't mean
Hey, what's your name?
you're individually appalled.
So you're going to speak to the media.
It looks like it.
That's cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're doing it.
That's okay.
Yeah, I just,
I know Andrea wants to do it anyway.
you know, I had to listen very carefully to how they ask their questions, and you know, I think they're going to be fair. The
He
discussion that
seems
got
like he
this,
will be.
yeah, the dialogue that got this going was somewhat going after these guys
Right.
because of how the mainstream media is portraying us, and how they, you know, pick and choose the comments and so forth. But you know, there's a million directions this can go.
I'm going to try to get your comments so that if they're edited, we'll know.
Yeah.
We'll know the.
Yeah.
If you guys could share the real quick 2 weeks, so I can show
Should we all get like behind her for a better support kind of tactic thing, or just under? Like yourself.
You know what? Editing purposes, probably by because otherwise, you know, if we do a soundbite with her, then a soundbite with the next one, and the same people behind her. I would appreciate it so much. All right. Okay. Kind of cool to be standing out here. What brings you out here?
Basically, to put it simply, I'm here to defend my rights as a gun owner and a law-abiding citizen.
Some people would say you don't look like the typical kind of gun owner, but there really is not a typical gun owner, is there?
Yeah, there's really not. I mean, I'm 23, I'm college educated, and I'm 5'2" on a good day, and I want to defend myself as best I can. And really, I don't think anyone should be limited, if they're a law-abiding citizen, to the right to defend themselves.
What do you make of all the things that we see going on over there about taking gun rights away?
It scares me personally because like I said before, I don't want to be limited to defending myself. And I want to protect my life and the lives of my family, my friends, and even people I meet at Kroger or at Harris Teeter. If someone comes in meaning to do me, my family, or anybody harm, I want to be the one that can stand up and defend everybody.
Is it harder now trying to make that case to people, given so many things being proposed? You see a national tragedy, you guys immediately know, every gun owner is going to feel like it's great. What's going to come next? We know what's going to come next. More restrictions, more, taking away our rights. How hard is it to make that case to people who may not be gun owners?
It's a very sensitive subject, just like pretty much every single subject that is in the news every day. That permeates through politics, pretty much everything. And the main thing that everyone, gun owner or not, needs to be aware of is to be respectful to everyone's opinions, because everyone has theirs. But it's also very important to see both sides of the equation. If you are not a gun owner and don't believe in firearms, listen to someone who has owned a gun and has had to defend their lives or the lives of their families. And it is difficult, but it's something that needs to be said. We need to defend ourselves.
Well said. Anything else you want to add?
Just get informed and, don't believe everything you read or that you see, and just get informed about your rights as an American. We're in a great country and we deserve to keep it that way.
Anything you think of? No.
Well, the government's trying to take away our right, but they don't have the right to take away. This is our Second Amendment rights. It's a right. You can't take that away. Guns don't kill people by themselves. Guns don't just get up and shoot people. It's people that kills people. I mean, we're focusing on an inanimate object. We're not focusing on the problem at hand, which is mental disorders. And that's what's getting, I guess, swept under the rug. So I think there's a lot more to it than just gun control. And I think gun control is not gun control, it's people control.
I saw something actually on the national news the other day. Of the 9 or so mass killings last year, 7 or 8 of them had some sort of mental illness associated with it.
I mean, I think to kill anybody just for no reason, you have to be kind of mental, don't you? I mean, a rational person's not going to go out and kill somebody. It's as simple as that. But I mean, I think that to focus on guns, to try to take away something that they don't have the right to take, I think that they're barking up the wrong tree. People are just not going to lay down their arms so willingly, especially with everything that's going on. I mean, we have a president that is clearly against the Constitution. People need to worry about that. I mean, the last time people took away our guns, or took away any guns, was Hitler. And Hitler tried to use gun control, and we know what happened with that. Like I said, people are a little more informed now, and I just don't think he's going to get the reaction that he wants when he tries to get the guns out of our hands.
You feel that message is unfortunately not being heard, though, when you talk about Sandy Hook and you talk about Aurora, Colorado, and those kind of things get all the press?
Yeah, I do, and I think it's people are misinformed once again. The first thing they go after is the black guns, what they call it, okay? The assault rifle is what they're talking about. There was no assault rifle used at Sandy Hook, but that was the first thing that everybody said is he used an AR-15. No, he did not. He used 2 handguns. So for them to, blame an AR-15 or blame us for, something that happened over there because some kid was crazy is wrong. I mean, if you want to get on the subject, how many people are killed every year by abortion? A lot more than guns. So.
You feel like you're fighting a losing battle right now?
Oh, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I don't think I'm fighting a losing battle. I think a lot more people want guns than a lot more that don't. And I think that with, 200 million registered firearms in this country, 85 million registered gun owners, I think he's going to have a hard time taking away from us. So no, what people need to realize is the Constitution wasn't written to protect the government or to give the government power. It was written to protect the people from government power. I mean, I think the politicians up on Capitol Hill have forgotten who they are. They're servants of the people. Remember, we left England to get away from royalty, and now you got politicians thinking they are royalty. I don't think that they have a hope in heck to get our guns from us. No.
That's it. Anything you want to add?
No.
I talk to Steve. Try to.
You got it.
Don't look down the camera.
Got it. So looking.
Unless you're ready to draw. How important are these rallies? I mean,
It seems like there's been such an outcry that more of these are needed to get the point out there.
Exactly. Rallies are very important because we're all just citizens out there, and this is an opportunity for us to come together and share our thoughts and feelings and the processes. We probably should have more of these. I guess the problem that we're having and the numbers that we have, you're not seeing a lot of folks here now because it's pretty much over. But the problem we're having is just getting the word out. I think social media is the best way. This isn't something that you're going to see on the various TV stations and so on.
And obviously, if any proposals actually get a lot closer to being passed, you'd probably pick it up at that point even more.
Well, that's a good question because I think we're already deep into these proposals being discussed in the dialogue. And again, you can watch any of the news channels and see that this has been going on now at a pretty high level for 2 or 3 months. And my concern for enthusiasts and gun owners such as myself is that people are not really paying attention. And if they're not paying attention at this point, where legislation is conceivably could be passed within the next few months, I think that's a disturbing trend for people who feel like me that want to protect these rights.
Do you feel like any more regulations need to be like at the gun shows or any of that for future gun owners?
It's a good question. I think a lot of people misunderstand there are already regulations in place at the gun shows. You look at the fact that the dealers are licensed, and I think the problem that folks are having is that private sellers can come into the gun show. All it takes is for the organizers of that gun show to say, we're not going to have private sales in the facility, and we're not going to have private sales on the property where that gun show is taking place. They can do that at any time without having additional federal or state regulations. That's at the discretion of the individuals, which are usually private organizations, to control those gun shows.
Which would be self-regulatory, which is probably the best
Exactly,
idea.
and there's probably already shows in the United States that have those restrictions. In Tennessee, at least the ones I've attended, that's not the case.
You think it should be?
That's not going to stop the problem at hand. The problem at hand is that we're not paying attention to crime statistics and the fact that too many criminals are awaiting sentencing when they're committing further crimes. You can look at the website for the Nashville Metro Police Department and see that the greatest majority of crimes that are being committed, which lead to the gun violence stats that everyone is citing to propose this additional legislation, is that the greatest majority of crimes are caused by repeat offenders who are either out on early parole. You have government regulations that are saying we can only have this many people in our prisons. So there's a lot of other things that are going on behind the scenes that I think are not really getting enough attention, that are really the root of the gun violence problem. And if we resolve that, then I think we can resolve those numbers and the issues that we have.
Anything else you want to say?
And obviously,
Yes.
there's already plenty of laws out there about who can have a gun, who can't, and they're not being enforced. That's one of the things I've heard is that let's just enforce the laws we have, and some of this, specifically the mental health issues.
Right.
Because that's how, like the Virginia Tech guy, he had a prior history, yet he bought a gun legally, so to speak. He went and bought it from the dealer, not from.
That gets into the universal background checks. If you're going to have universal background checks, actually, I have mixed feelings about that. I still don't think that's going to resolve the issues that people are trying to bring to the forefront. It comes back to the crime problem that we have, and the criminal, and that problem, the gang problem, and so forth. Most of gun violence is caused by gangs. You can look at Chicago as an example of that. If you get into universal background checks and mental health checks and things like that, then it has to be absolutely universal. It has to be where every state, every jurisdiction has the same regulations. Is there a 3-day wait for background checks? In Tennessee, it's currently an instant background check, and it works. The FB instant background check is stopping people from buying firearms. You look at situations where we've had these terrible mass tragedies, usually it's because of someone who had mental health issues. Does that mean that that's going to be captured by that background check? There's no guarantee of that.
Connecticut's a perfect example on that. I mean, the mom had the guns legally. She didn't have mental health issues. The son did. The son's the one who gets the guns and kills mom and then goes and kills the kids.
That was a mistake, in my opinion, in parenting, where if the mother, the parent, was aware of the fact that their child had an issue like that, they should have never been taken to a range for gun practice. They should never have any type of formal, informal training in firearms. That should have been a decision for the parent to make, that they should have never, ever had any type of access to those types of firearms, or any type of firearm for that matter, and use the time that she spent on the range with that child and getting help for that child. So we have a parenting problem as well, and that's being ignored in the national debate.
Part of it like that. Yeah, that's a really. I'm not talking about what happens. Some of kind of regulation, but people are going to slip through. If everybody had been beaten to death with a baseball bat, the bats would be the big issue.
Well, another thing I didn't mention with regard to the sales at the gun shows is that if the guys that are having the gun shows down here in Murfreesboro that I attend on a regular basis, they say, hey, no more private sales on the premises, no more private sales in the facility. Okay, great. What's going to happen? They're going to go down the street to the Wendy's parking lot or somewhere to carry out the transaction. So if they pass the law, which I think that's the one they're really going to try to get in, they may fall back on the semi-autos and all that, and magazine. Of course, magazine restrictions still, which will do absolutely nothing. But if they get into the so-called gun show loophole, there's nothing to prevent someone from coming in my home who I know and say, I'm going to sell you a firearm. I'm not going to have a background check. We might fill out a piece of paper that shows we're having this transaction. So there's a document that gun ever shows up somewhere in the crime because they sold it to somebody, and they sold it to somebody, and you got that going. There's never, ever going to be a way to stop it. You can't, just like selling a car.
Just like that guy that got killed when he was selling guns in the parking lot, and he gets, over in West Nashville, and he got killed by the two guys that apparently he was selling the guns to, that he met that he hooked up with on the internet, by Craigslist or whatever it was.
Yeah, there's another thing. You get deeper into these stories. You can get deeper in the story and run the trail. What was that person's record? How many people that are buying these guns that are coming up to these meetings? How many have drug convictions? How many have violent crime convictions? One thing I didn't mention, because it kind of gets into another area, is law enforcement officers. You never want to see law enforcement officers lose their lives in the line of duty. But the greatest majority of law enforcement officers that I've look at the FBI stats, and that's an unbiased resource. You look at the FBI stats, the greatest majority of law enforcement officers in 2011, which has the most current stats, they lost their lives because the people who took their lives were on parole and already had convictions and had served time for violent gun crime, drugs, gang-related problems, and so forth. And that's the problem. If you take that out. And another point of that, with regard to so-called, I don't use the phrase assault weapons because that's a contrived term, is that most officers that lost their lives to a .38 special revolver, not the so-called semi-automatic. That was actually less than 10% of those lives lost.
Yeah.
And we look at FBI stats, hands and fists cause more deaths in the U.S. than rifles.
Wow. I never heard that.
So that's an FBI statistic.
Yeah.
That's unbiased.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of data points that are there, and it's just that I don't think people really know how to look for that type of thing.
Yeah.
There's somewhat of a lack of critical thinking skills, but the data is out there if you know where to find it and know how to find it.
Well, I know how to present it to lawmakers.
And then you look at it and say, well, let's step back and look at what's being proposed and why it's being proposed.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you. Sorry we got off on the wrong
What time is it
foot.
gonna be on?
Probably 6 o'clock, my guess is. Normally they would text us or something and call us.
And again, the name of the channel.
And we'll put that on our tag.
Okay.
At the end of the story.
Matter of
Okay?
fact, what's your name? I'm sorry.
Steve Hayslip.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I just
Channel
wanted to
5.
Make sure it's in my video. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
So I was glad to I was glad I was there during that time because a lot of people had left. I mean, there probably wasn't 30 people left, but maybe even 20 people left hanging around. And it reminded me of when I was growing up in church. My mother would always say, "No, we got to hang around after church because that's when all the good stuff happens." People would talk about, they would fellowship and talk about what's going to happen next and all that kind of stuff. Talk about business, the church business, after the sermon. So it reminded me that sometimes the best time during an event is afterwards when you think it's over and it turns out that some good stuff happens. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the interviews. I certainly did, and I appreciate you watching.